Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We are super excited to bring you part 8 in Transparency is the New Green, our customer story webinar series, brought to you by CHPS, our product transparency partner for K through 12, and featuring 2 of the Transparency Catalog exhibitors, Excel Dryer and AEP Span. You're going to find that they have both very interesting transparency stories to tell today, as each of their companies was first in their product category to bring product transparency disclosures to the market for their products. So they're each going to talk about their product transparency journeys, their stories, and the decision to be first and the challenges of being first. The goal in this series is to let the manufacturers talk about these product transparency journeys, to share the knowledge both with other manufacturers, but even more importantly, with those building professionals who are looking to build higher performing, greener and healthier buildings and can learn how to use the transparency disclosures to make credibly informed decisions, meaning taking these credible scientific disclosures and learn how to use them to make decisions about products and therefore about the manufacturers making these products. And so our goal at Sustainable Minds is to take disclosure and move it from just a technical statement to create brand value for manufacturers by integrating product transparency into product marketing so it simply becomes part of the story that they're telling about their products. So today, we're fortunate to have with us Paul Marquez from Excel Dryer and AEP and Marie Ortega from AEP Span. They will introduce themselves once they get started, and after both of them tell their stories, I'll be able to give you an update on what's happening over at CHPS, some exciting new developments over there, and then we'll make time for Q&A. Pretty much, I'm going to guess most of you have been on a webinar before, so you know how to use the questions pane to leave your questions. We'll get to them, and if for some reason we don't, we will definitely follow up and get those answers to you offline. So to set the context, we lay out the premise that manufacturers face 2 key problems, but they're really part and parcel of the same set of challenges. They want and need to both credibly design greener products and then market those greener products. And it's the same drivers that are driving both regulation, costs, risk, as well as the potential to bring new products to market, the new revenue from those products, and at the end of the day, to enhance and build a credibly greener brand so that people in the marketplace looking for products learn to trust those manufacturers and those brands by knowing that they really do know what they're doing and actually are making higher performing, greener and healthier products. And what really got all this product transparency activity going was starting with LEED version 4 back in 2012 when they announced product transparency as a key new set of criteria in LEED v4. And other green building rating systems have followed suit, and even new ones have emerged since then to reward manufacturers for investing in product transparency, which is why we have adopted and changed up and used the term transparency is the new green, because effectively, again, starting with LEED, the new product transparency credits say, hey, look, it's not enough just to make claims about single attributes about products. Those single attributes are certainly important, but they don't tell the whole life cycle story of a product, and they don't help us understand how to compare products within a product category and even across product categories. And so the requirement to use scientific methods for measuring the life cycle impacts and material ingredients of products really has raised the bar to a new level, which is why the Transparency Catalog is dedicated only to those brands who have invested in product transparency and features only those products from those brands. We believe that product transparency does build credibly greener brands, but not simply by producing disclosures, and that the value for manufacturers to provide environmental information about their products comes from demonstrating they understand what that information means and they know what they're doing. So making greener decisions does require consistent, understandable, and meaningful information. And when that gets delivered, that kind of truth builds trust, trust builds powerful brands, and powerful brands create preference and value for their companies. And if you're a building professional, an architect, builder, contractor, specifier on this call today, this is important because if ultimately these manufacturers who are investing in product transparency, making the time, taking the risk, investing the dollars, if their products ultimately don't get selected and specified, there's a pretty good risk that manufacturers will stop doing it. And so if as a community, as an industry, that we're all working towards building a built environment that has less impact on the natural environment and human health, then it's incumbent upon all of us in this virtuous cycle to not only demand better products from manufacturers, like you'll hear today, but then to reward them for bringing those products to market and investing in those disclosures and sharing with you what they're doing. The need is here to reward them by selecting and specifying their products. So that is what the Transparency Catalog is designed to do, and it's designed to help AECs and building professionals both educate the market about what they're doing to improve, what these disclosures mean, and make it easy for those products to be found, selected, worked into specifications, and support those manufacturers who are responding to the market by investing in product transparency. So today, the Transparency Catalog has now been around for about a year and a half. Our focus has always been on the brands. We did not build a traditional product database where you show up and put in a search term and get some results. We will be adding filtering later this year, but our primary focus is on the brands. One, so that people learn the names of the brands who are investing a little bit or a lot, but also so that when somebody comes to the front page of the catalog, they can see in a glance that today there are almost 1,000 manufacturers already who have invested in product transparency. There are a lot of products available to be specified into green building projects that have transparency information. So any product, any brand, and any product that you find in the Transparency Catalog meets one or more of the Green Building Rating System credits and criteria for environmental performance reporting or material ingredient reporting. And the catalog is uniquely designed for manufacturers both to save time, be more effective, and ultimately get an ROI on their investments, so they'll keep doing this, and to help building professionals find products, understand how to use the disclosures in the Green Building Rating System, learn what the manufacturer is doing, share the information, and ultimately reward those manufacturers. And if all of this happens, we will drive the change that we're all looking for to create in the built environment. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Paul Marquez, who will tell us about what they're doing at Excel Dryer. Paul, take it away.
Thank you, Terry. Greetings. Before we commence this portion of the presentation, I'd like to take a minute to applaud the Collaborate for High Performance Schools and Sustainable Minds partnership and thank them both for this platform. Thank you. So allow me to reintroduce myself, Paul Marquez presenting. Little background information about me. Massachusetts boy, born and raised. I was born in Salem, Mass. Around the second grade, I moved to Lynn, Mass. I graduated from Lynn English High School. Go Bulldogs. I received my undergraduate degree from Westfield State University, earning degrees in both economics and business management with a concentration in finance. I received my master's degree in economics from Northeastern University in Boston, Mass. While working in the Boston Financial District, I met my wife. We were both working out of the John Hancock Tower. She said yes. We moved to Western Mass to be closer to her family. I continue to work in the finance world, now commuting to Connecticut. Then mortgage-backed credit default swap securities crashed the market. I started teaching economics and business management at Westfield State University, while also landing a sales position with a different company, which then transitioned to me becoming part of the sales team here at Excel Dryer. For about 4 years now, I've had the privilege to be a member of the Excel Dryer's corporate sales team. In my current role, I'm charged with sales functions, client relationship management, and gathering and conveying customer needs to guide product development with a particular emphasis on understanding specification processes. From putting products on the radar of architects who specify, albeit by conducting product presentations, AIA-approved CEUs, which are continuing education units, to the end result of contractors and builders who execute such plans. Excel Dryer. For about 50 years, Excel Dryer has been manufacturing the finest American-made hand dryers and hair dryers. Excel Dryer is a family-run American-made hand dryer manufacturer. Allow me to introduce the family from left to right. My boss, Bill Gagnon, runs the market and domestic sales. His mother, Vice President Nancy Gagnon, our President, Dennis Gagnon, the inventor of the patent high-speed energy-efficient accelerated hand dryer, and our COO, Dennis Gagnon Jr., who also runs our export division. Our corporate headquarters are here in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. We just don't speak transparency and sustainability, as you can see from the solar panels on our roof. We also live it as well. We are a LEED Green certification building. Commitment to sustainability. Why is sustainability important? For me personally, it's for future generations. I tell my children, I'm saving the planet one hand dryer at a time. I'll share some data later on within this presentation that supports my statement. Sustainability is a must. Excel Dryer, CHPS, Sustainable Minds share a common goal. We all strive to promote positive environmental stewardship. At Excel Dryer, we believe in green technology and are doing everything we can to reduce carbon footprint and promote sustainability, which runs parallel to the missions of CHPS to make every school an ideal place to learn and ensure that every child has the best possible learning environment with the smallest impact on the planet. Like CHPS being the first green building rating programs, especially designed for K-12 schools in the United States, Excel Dryer also has a few green first achievements to celebrate. The first hand dryer manufacturer to become a member of the United States Green Building Council, USGBC. The first hand dryer manufacturer to become Green Spec listed. Accelerator is the first and only hand dryer that is made in USA certified. Excel Dryer is proud to lead the way into the age of transparency by initiating and sharing the first global PCR with UL environment. First to have our dry times and energy per use third-party tested to global PCR standards. the first hand dryer manufacturer to commission an independent third-party life cycle assessment, LCA, of high-speed, energy-efficient hand dryers versus conventional hand dryers and paper towels. Leading the industry, Excel Dryer is the first hand dryer manufacturer to publish third-party verified environmental product declarations, EPDs. So what is a PCR? A PCR is a set of rules, requirements, and guidelines following internationally recognized protocols to develop environmental product declarations for one or more product categories. This global PCR is the first of its kind and requires hand dryer manufacturers worldwide to be transparent, to evaluate the environmental performance and impact of hand dryers with a common approach. And that means less confusion in the marketplace due to standardized testing and reporting. Now, specifiers are able to make more informed decisions based on consistent data points. Unless the data is being reported the same way, how can one be sure that they are not comparing apples to oranges? Standardized evaluation guidelines and reporting allow for the specifying community and buyers to conduct a fair and just comparison of products and ultimately make more informed decisions based on credible third-party testing and not false claims. In essence, this means PCRs level the playing field. As we mentioned earlier, Excel Dryer recently celebrated another first with UL Environment, a business division of UL Underwriters Laboratories, published the first ever global product category rules PCR developed for the hand dryer industry, a process I'm proud to restate Excel Dryer initiated and chaired. For a product to gain EPD certification, it must be studied cradle to grave by the way of a life cycle assessment conducted by a credible third party following ISO 14040 standards. Excel Dryer called upon world-renowned Qantas International, with whom they previously worked for their latest LCA. While LCAs are helpful in identifying performance attributes and the environmental impact of a particular product, they are not helpful in comparing one product to another unless both have gone through the same LCA process. Let's take a look at a case study. Longmeadow High School in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. When you have the opportunity, please take a couple minutes to listen to Principal Lawrence Barrett's comments that can be found on our website. Here we're looking at a beauty shot at the Accelerated Eco with the ADA research kits and a quote from the principal. Let's get straight to the important stuff here as well. These numbers speak for themselves. 96% annual savings over paper towels. Building the best possible schools, we strive to manufacture the best hand dryers in the industry. With the consistent and transparent reporting in place, it's important to recognize that or equal products are not, in fact, equal. Only those products that have undergone testing as outlined in the PCR for hand dryers have quantifiable, credible, and sustainable claims on environmental sustainability. Educating the public of the importance of these benchmarks is essential. Take a minute to review the information as you can see here. So please feel free to visit Transparency Catalogue so you can find additional information on our products, especially the EPDs and all the relevant transparency documentation. Key learning insights. This pretty much speaks to the self. So what we did is we had an opportunity here to test the PCR guidelines, and you can see the dry times and energy usage based on the PCR guidelines as listed here. With consistent and transparent reporting in place, it's important to recognize that this will provide you with detailed information. Here we're looking at the first published dry times and energy usage for hand dryers recorded during testing conducted by SGS, the world's leading inspection, verification, testing, and certification company. With uniform testing and reporting procedures established in the PCRs in place, no longer will companies so easily engage in greenwashing or making false claims. In the sustainable product sector, UL's systematic approach to their research and their resulting testing guidelines and reporting procedures established for hand dryers in the new global PCR ushers the industry into an age of transparency. The study considered energy use. We're looking at here of a study of energy used to harvest raw materials and manufacture paper towels. It also assumed 2 paper towels per use, but the study did not consider the energy required to transport or dispose of paper towels. If that energy was included, even more savings would result from the high-speed energy efficient hand dryers. Key learnings and insights continued. Let's just consider the cost difference among different hand dryer methods. The result can be surprising. With an average cost for electricity of 0.0995 per kilowatt hour, the use of an electric dryer averages about $14.58 per month, 1/5 of the cost per paper towels. That alone will save more than $60 per month. When you look at these numbers, it's pretty surprising. The cost of paper towels is significant. A restaurant that gets a medium amount of use can expect to consume at least 1 package of paper towels daily. The cost shown here doesn't factor in the extra costs of trash bags, and maintenance. This means that the higher cost of the purchasing the electric dryer is repaid within about 7 months, making an electric hand dryer a far more economical choice than paper towels. Product considerations. We're in the process of launching, we just commenced it, an endeavor to have a HPD, Health Product Declaration. We should have ours in about 2 to 3 months. So every product with an EPD must be evaluated through the same use phase methods developed through industry consensus. In addition to that, this is an example of evaluation measures, energy per use and dry time. And as you can see, the charts speak for themselves. Trends. The importance of a product transparency. With uniform testing and reporting procedures established in the PCR in place, this is the way of the future. It's going to help us all strive to promote positive environmental stewardship. It's time to throw in the towel. I hope you guys enjoyed this portion of the presentation.
Thanks, Paul. I love that tagline, and it pretty much makes me laugh every time. I think the presentation you gave does give us all real data to realize it is time to throw in the towel. So with that, we're going to move over to Marie Ortega, who will talk to us about the work that AEP SPAN is doing and that she's doing as well. So Marie, take it away.
Thank you, Terry. So yes, my name is Marie Ortega. I am the communication specialist for NS BlueScope Coated Products North America. And I'm responsible for creating awareness of our brands and promoting our portfolio of steel product solutions. And it was along with our technical manager, Michelle Bondrin, we took the lead in managing the development of our transparency documents. And I am also responsible for creating an awareness of how our products contribute points to green building certification programs. So a little bit about my background. My background's in marketing and communications. I have been part of the marketing team at NS BlueScope for almost 5 years. Prior to joining the organization, I consulted for several years, and I also have an advertising agency background, having worked for DDB Needham Worldwide and Lawrence and Ponder. And in both firms, I worked on the account management side of the business, where I worked on state and national advertising campaigns. I also worked for the corporate office at the Disney Store, which was a specialty retail store of the Walt Disney Company, where I handled all event planning for the corporate office, as well as 250 stores across the US and Puerto Rico. So my background is very broad. My undergraduate degree is in communications, and I have an MBA in marketing from Claremont Graduate University. And the question was asked of me, why is sustainability important to me? And so first, I'd like to state that we have an environmental health and safety department, which handles a robust company-wide environmental program. And I'll get into that in a few minutes. But my involvement in working on our transparency documents and working for an organization who is answering the call for transparency has been, very inspiring. Sustainability interests me because our products are naturally green products, and at the end of its life use, it's 100% recyclable. And that for me is an attribute that I could feel good about promoting. So a little bit about our company. NS BlueScope is comprised of 4 business units. Steelscape is a midstream steel coil supplier, and they supply steel to our 3 downstream steel product manufacturers. And so we've got AEP, ASC, Steel Deck, and AEP building products. And all 3 of those manufacturers serve different segments of the construction industry. And they are all leading brands in the industry, serving the Western US market for over 45 years. It is our AEP span downstream manufacturer who is a member of CHPS. And AEP, they are, as I stated, we are a leading manufacturer of metal roof and siding products. And our products are used on institutional, commercial, multifamily projects. But our products are also heavily used in the education segment. And I've got just some great projects that I'll share with you in a few minutes. But I want to state, from a testing perspective, our products are required to be tested to meet ASTM standards. But there is no requirement to validate that testing. Well, at AEP Span, we exceed industry testing standards, and we have our testing performed by an accredited third party. And our structural performance data is contained in a building code approval report. And that's important to us because that's our way of providing assurance to architects that when they specify AEP Span products, they can, design and build with confidence knowing that our products will perform. And for us, CHPS is committed to high performance schools, and our products are high performance products. So AEP Span and CHPS, it is the right partnership. And lastly, our products fall under the CSI Division 7 or Division 07. So I want to share with you some projects, and this is the University of Washington. It's the Mercer Court project, and I know CHPS focuses on K through 12 schools, but I wanted to show you this beautiful project. It showcases our products just lovely. But what I want to point out is that from a design perspective, metal panels are offered in a variety of panel shapes, and there are many color options to choose from. But our products offer also great design flexibility and truly becomes an architectural feature of a building. So This project, for an example, it features our Prestige series, which comes in 4 different profiles that you can mix and match with. So I want to also show you some other schools, and I'll go through them quickly. Creekview Ranch Middle School, it's in Roseville, California. It features our standing seam, it's our select seam narrow batten roof panel and our span seam roof panel. And there's also throughout campus wall panels that are featured throughout the project. This is Adora Academy Red Rock. This project is located in Las Vegas, Nevada. And what I want to point out is that a lot of these projects, as I stated earlier, they represent really, the different markets that we're in. This project is in Arizona, and it features our Prestige series and flush panel in several different cool colors. And here's another middle school in Washington, Issaquah Middle School. And the interesting thing about this project is it features our Prestige panel in a wall application, and it also has a graffiti resistance coating as well. This is a primary school in Oregon. Now, this is a middle school. It is located in Washington, and it features 4 different panels in a roof and wall application in several different colors. And what I love about this project is that they are using DesignSpan as a siding application, and DesignSpan traditionally is a standing seam roof application. So, they thought outside of the box, and they're using it in a wall application in our metallic copper color. And this is the last project I'll share with you. This is a modular classroom. It is by American Modular Systems, which is obviously our customer, but they are also a CHPS member. And featured on the siding is New Wave corrugated in what's called a Zinc-Alume Plus coating. And what that is, it's a corrosion resistant coating, and it gives that bare steel aesthetic look. And I'm going to reference that coating as I move along in talking about our transparency document. So if you could just keep a mental picture of this project, that would be terrific. So at NS BlueScope, we are committed to our environmental stewardship. Our environmental health and safety department manages our company-wide environmental and safety program. We have 8 manufacturing plants across the U.S., and each of our plants has a recycling program where we recycle all scrap metal, cardboards, and plastics. And when we transport steel coil from our midstream steel supply plant to our manufacturing plants, we use these pallets, and these pallets are all recycled. And at Steelscape, which is our steel supply plant, it's really heavier industrial manufacturing processes that are involved. So in those plants, the oils that are used to lubricate the machinery, those oils are recycled and reused. And any excess paints are recycled and reused as primer on our backside of our steel coil. And then we also recycle and reuse all solvents that are part of our production process. Now, we also have an energy efficiency plan. Several years ago, we switched to LED lighting across all of our plants. And we also have installed lighting motion detection sensors in our warehouses and our office space. And we've also, we assessed our plants and assessed the best conditions for solar panels. And no surprise, it's our Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana, and West Sacramento plants, all located in California, which have our solar panels installed. Now, our transparency, our product transparencies, we have completed a transparency, documentation for our full portfolio of products. And we have 2 supply chains in place where we purchase our steel. And we purchase our steel from what we call our standard steel mill. And then we also have a steel mill which offers a higher recycled content steel. So our products are produced on a made-to-order basis. So it's really the project requirements dictates which supply chain we will order steel from for a given project. So we're proud to say that we have completed a life cycle assessment for both of our supply chains. We have third-party verified product-specific Type 3 EPDs for each supply chain. We have a third-party verified health product declaration for our products with that Zinc Aluminum Plus coating. It was that modular classroom. It's that Zinc Aluminum coating where it provides correct corrosion protection, but it offers that really nice bare steel aesthetic look. So we currently have an HPD for that coating, but we also are working on an HPD for our products offered in a painted offer. And what I want to point out is that currently HPDs are not required to be third-party verified, but ours, however, will exceed that standard requirement. And we are also in the process of working on a third-party verified Living Building Challenge Declare label. So AEP is the first single-skin metal panel manufacturer to offer third-party verification documentation, and we're very proud of that. And I really quick, I just have to state this as well. And our ASC steel deck, we manufacture structural steel and roof decking. We have transparency documents for that business unit as well. So our listing on Sustainable Minds, we have done all this work. This is great work, and we're passionate and committed to contributing to green, sustainable designs, and we have our communication channels in place to reach our architects that we work with on a regular basis and our customers. But having our products and transparency documents on Sustainable Minds is helping us reach further within the architect community to get the word out about our green products and our transparency documents. If you notice on our site on Sustainable Minds, we have listed, I mentioned we have an EPD for each of our supply chains. Well, it's all listed on our site on Sustainable Minds. One of the things that I want to share is that I conducted a training for our sales team, and there were some really useful tools on this site in that there's the social media icons and the email capability where you can email our transparency information to an architect that we're working on, or for our social media platform. And then a really helpful section on the site was the rating systems eligibility feature. And what that does is, in a snapshot, it shows where the green building certification programs are aligned in terms of the transparency documents, and that was just very helpful. Our key learnings, I'll say that, while working on our HPDs, we were trying to use an approach that we could use across all the green product certification programs. So it's CHPS, USGBC LEED v4, Living Building Challenge Declare label. And, just learning all those programs was overwhelming. But, the material ingredient reporting, from that perspective, it was understanding how these programs are aligned in terms of the criteria, because we needed to make sure that we were working efficiently as we gathered our data. So we chose to report based on the 100 parts per million threshold. And an interesting learning was that we found out later with CHPS and USGBC, they will accept Living Building Challenge Red List Declared labels as an acceptable document for health material ingredient reporting. And that was a very important insight. And I think another key learning was obtaining information from our vendor supplied products was challenging. Not all of our vendors were prepared to answer some of our questions. And I think what another key learning for us was beyond the transparency documents, we completed a comprehensive assessment of how metal roof and wall panels can contribute points to a green building, certification. But we feel like we now have an opportunity to educate and play a leadership role in helping provide clarity in terms of how metal roofing and wall panels can contribute points. I think where we see improvements, even working with our suppliers on the material ingredient reporting, we had the opportunity to have very productive conversations about possible areas for improvement. We had been proactive in taking the lead in our industry, for an example, in the area of testing. But there are times when these external factors challenge us to change. So, and in this case, it's transparency of our supply chain and material ingredients. And we, once again, are taking the lead as it relates to, these documents. The Steelscape, our Steelscape business unit, we supply steel to other steel product manufacturers, not just our 3 downstream manufacturing companies. So we are currently proactively working on transparency documentation for Steelscape so that they too can be responsive and support other steel product manufacturers as they pursue transparency documentation. And I want to state that our organization was one of the first to switch to the cool paint formulas that we know today as cool roofs. And we participated along with CRRC and Energy Star on behalf of Painted Metal. So as we navigate sustainability in building designs, we intend to continue to play that leadership role. So transparency as a product selection filter. As a manufacturer, we clearly understand the purpose of transparency and are responding to the call. Currently, and I stated this before, material ingredient reporting is not required to be third-party verified. So the assumption is being made that manufacturers are interpreting the required data accurately. And truly, the only way to ensure consistency and accurate reporting is to require third-party verification. Which, leads us into trends, future trends. We believe third-party verifications will become mandatory. And we believe that the direction, that is the direction the market is headed. And, we have had these conversations with our consultants. So we are confident that that is the direction the market is going. When you're looking at challenges, the complexity of a supply chain varies by industry. The steel industry supply chain, for an example, is complex, particularly in the West, on the West Coast. So for a challenge, the steel manufacturers would have to be committed to a supply chain in order to invest in transparency documents. So we see that as a challenge. But long term, we all know the benefits of product transparency. We all benefit from that. And, we all benefit from a healthier green built environment. And I'm proud to say, AEP STAN is listening and responding. So thank you so much for your time. Thierry, are there any questions?
Well, there are some questions, and I think we're going to take them at the end. And I will probably touch on some of the questions as I talk a little bit about the catalog. So quickly, I'm going to talk about chips. And then we will do a demo of the catalog as people are asking questions like, where do I find the catalog? And I'll show it to you, but the URL is transparencycatalog.com. It's free to use. There's no login, so you can access it anytime. All of the products in the catalog have disclosures that some are global or applicable globally. Others are disclosures for the North American market. All of the products that are in the catalog are intended for the North American market, but many of the manufacturers do distribute globally. This is one of the questions that came up. And you would just need to contact the manufacturer, which you can easily do through their listing page. I'll show you how to do that and get answers to the questions about regionality of products. So we actually launched our partnership with CHPS about a year ago and became the official product transparency resource for CHPS for K through 12. Well, why was that? Well, that's because CHPS was one of those green building rating systems that added new criteria to its program to reward manufacturers for product transparency. So they added a credit or criteria for environmental product declarations and another for health information reporting. There are now 7 high performance categories in the CHPS criteria, and those two for EPD and material health reporting are part of the materials and waste management criteria. Now here's an example of another CHPS member, Armstrong Ceiling and Walls, and we worked with CHPS to develop this co-branded listing. So in a glance, when you go to a manufacturer's listing, you already saw on Excel Dryer and on AEP Span, both that they're CHPS members and because by definition they have EPDs and material disclosures, they qualify as a CHPS certified product. So by virtue of just that product being in the catalog, you already know that it meets the criteria for all the green building rating systems that offer and reward manufacturers and those specifiers for specifying products with EPDs or material ingredient disclosures. When you go to any manufacturer's listing, there's links and phone numbers to contact them. But the additional content, which is optional for CHPS members with this co-branded listing, is they can also list the other CHPS core criteria with which their products comply. So by virtue of being in the catalog, they already comply and meet the environmental and material disclosure reporting, but you can also learn about what other core criteria they meet. So CHPS is a very hands-on organization and has worked hard to recruit people in leadership in school districts and municipalities, even in state government, and educating the children and the students about why it's important to go to school in a high-performing building. And this was a quote that came out of a meeting CHPS had recently with their board, that this was actually a leader in a municipality who was so happy and excited about their experience with CHPS that they actually joined the board, and so shared with them this kind of snippet of their experience, which is, working with CHPS criteria was really easy, and it really made building a high-performing building a much simpler, much less intimidating process. And so that's, something for AECs to consider when they are thinking about, and for building owners to consider when they're thinking about green building certifications, there's certainly costs to get those certifications, both from the actual cost of the certification to the cost and the time and work required to pull all the information together to meet that certification's requirements. So we do want to support CHPS, and in this webinar to you, we want to encourage you to consider becoming a CHPS member if you are not already. There's benefits to manufacturers and AECs. CHPS recently brought in a new director of membership, Lisa Dunneback. There's her email there. But as you exit this webinar, there's a follow-up survey that if you indicate your interest in CHPS, that information will be passed along to CHPS, and Lisa will reach out to you. Big news in the CHPS world, they're launching their new website later this week. It's at the same URL as their existing website, so you don't need to know any new URL, but it's really a next generation site. The design is responsive, so you can use it on different devices. Much more sophisticated back-end capabilities to support and deliver member services, and to register and manage project applications, which is going to be really important and really helping in that process, and certainly providing even more expanded resources from best practices to interpretation and an overview of the high performance product database, which links to the transparency catalog. I'm going to just jump out and do a quick demo of the catalog, as I mentioned that I would. Here's the URL, transparencycatalog.com. I'm going to start up here, by the way. When this webinar is completed, the recording within a day or so will be posted to our blog. And if you click on that link, you can see all of the webinars in this series of Transparency is the New Green. So you can see the webinars that we've done with MasterSpec and the HPDC and other CHPS member webinars. So again, that's all free. No login. You can use it at any time. Again, we said the design of the site, the catalog, is designed to get visibility for every single brand and every industry organization who has supported the creation of industry-wide EPDs, but every brand who's invested in some kind of product transparency, whether it's environmental or materials. And these brands along the side have now added their products along with their disclosures, because I made the point earlier, people aren't looking for disclosures. They're looking for products with disclosures. You build buildings with products. So just looking through a database of disclosures doesn't actually help you, a building professional, find all the products from a manufacturer that has transparency disclosures. We actually recently completed a trend report, which will be available next week, where the data showed over 9,000 transparency disclosures are current in the marketplace today. There are about 1,400 EPDs and over 8,000 material ingredient disclosures of any type, whether it was an HPD, a declare label, a cradle-to-cradle certificate, a few other types, BIFMA level certificates. But each of those disclosures, it's unknown how many products are covered by each disclosure. So what the data can't tell us, and what we can't tell the market yet, is how many products there are that are available with transparency information. But if we do the math, we can say at the smallest amount, if there's 9,300, rolling it up, 9,300 disclosures, then there's a minimum of 9,300 products. And you can see here, Excel Dryer is a great example of a one-to-one correlation of a product. Here's the thin air hand dryer to its EPD. And actually, I just downloaded the EPD. If your browser was set up to show the EPD, it would show in that window. So here's a one-to-one correlation. But more often, it's the case where an EPD or an HPD covers multiple products. And we've even supported a manufacturer to do several HPDs that covered over 1,200 products in each HPD. So if we were to extrapolate to the other end of 9,400 products, if each disclosure represented up to 100, and anywhere in between 10, 50, 75, 100, there could be close to 1 million products that have transparency information. And the only way available today to find all the products with transparency information is right here in the transparency catalog, because we're the only ones who actually have organized a manufacturer's products. You can see here by CSI Master Format Division. And now you can actually look in and see all of the products that the manufacturer has with transparency information. And it may be that there are only 2 or 3 or 4. It doesn't actually matter how many EPDs AEP Span created to cover its products. What's only relevant to you as a specifier is that there are over 100 products right here in this listing from AEP Span that all have transparency information to go with it, all in one place. And as Marie pointed out, their HPDs are also third-party verified. So we've got a lot of help tools built in to help you understand what all this information means, how to use the information to meet rating systems criteria. Marie mentioned our, I call it our master decoder page. But this page shows all the green building rating systems that reward product transparency, organized by environment and materials, and then displays each disclosure type that's accepted with a definition, the attributes that are displayed in the table with abbreviations, again, these rollovers with a greater explanation. And it literally maps the disclosure to the rating system's eligibility, so folks can see which types of disclosures can be used to earn which types of credits and criteria in each green building rating system. This is always up to date. Again, it's free. Anybody can use it, whether you're a building professional working on a project, but even more importantly, for manufacturers to have a resource that they can rely on to be able to train their reps, their salespeople, their distributors and partners, so that all the information is always in one place, and people know where to go find it. Marie also mentioned a couple other tools here. We have built-in social media tools that allow anybody to share information, whether it's through Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. I quit out of my email so it wouldn't interfere with this webinar, but this is all customized to the manufacturer. This email will include a link to the listing. All of these do. So people can communicate about, hey, find all the products from a manufacturer here with transparency information, contact us, help us with specifications, et cetera, et cetera. So to wrap up and move to the Q&A portion, I think I did touch on most of the questions that were asked. There was one that came in for you, Paul, asking about your LCA, which essentially asked, was there a consideration for the type of energy used in the use phase factored into that LCA? And without having read the PCR, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to imagine that that would have been excluded from the LCA because the manufacturer has no control over the energy source of in the region or the location where the dryer is being installed. But certainly, if one of those dryers were installed in a building that was powered by solar or wind, their own solar panels, and certainly the impact from the energy being used in the use phase would be even less.
That's correct, Terry. And the study assumed a certain kilowatt price to try to balance things out.
Right. Yeah, getting to reading the LCA and the PCR is pretty interesting. We always link to those from our transparency reports, so people can really kind of geek out and learn all that. Were there any questions that the two of you, who I know have learned some things from each other from working on this webinar together, were there any kind of lasting questions you wanted to bring up for each other to share with the audience?
Yeah, I had a question for Maria, but please, you first.
Please, go ahead. Okay, thank you, Paul. So who's your biggest competitor?
By far, it's paper. Paper is like the 300-pound gorilla sitting in the room. Hand dryers are only specified about 10% of the time. That leaves great opportunity for us to continue to have a positive impact on our environment, given how seldomly hand dryers are specified in bathrooms.
Wow.
So I have a question for you too as well. What was your biggest concern when you were working on your transparency documents?
Well, that's a great question. I would say, I think just, being the first manufacturer in our industry, we're putting ourselves out there, and yes, that, made us nervous, but if there was an issue, we knew we would deal with it head on, but we are committed to being on the forefront and playing a leadership role, in our industry. So yeah, that was our biggest concern, but fortunately, the one issue that we're dealing with is, just getting information from our vendors, but we're working on that and we're working on a solution. So we're very optimistic.
So I want to thank you both for spending the time to put your stories together. I'm always inspired when I get to drill in with the manufacturers that we do business with. And I want to thank you guys for sharing those stories, being transparent in that way as well. One last question that came in, someone asked, would we be able to provide language to use in the specification to include the EPD and the HPDs? And the answer is yes, and we can follow up offline with you. But we're working with the manufacturers starting now to help them enhance their own specifications so that you can get their 3-part spec and take that language to include in your spec. So we will follow up with you on that particular point. And I want to thank everybody for coming and for staying this full hour plus a few minutes, and take our survey on the way out. And I want to thank again both of you, and all of you have a great day.
Thank you as well. Thanks for having us.
Have a good day.